What if it just sits there and does nothing like before? What if it catches fire and burns the building down? What if it explodes? The Chronocar, an urban adventure in time by Steve Bellinger.
Welcome to P English Literature, a YouTube channel that conveys Amazon, Goodreads, blog, and video book reviews coupled with interviews with authors. It's a perfect channel for book lovers, authors, and writers generally. P English Literature, the exact channel for you and me.
Hi guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel and to the review of The Chronocar, an urban adventure in time by Steve Bellinger. This is another science fiction novel and I so much enjoyed my time when I read through it. It is absolutely fascinating. It details the adventure of space travel and it has a sort of character that keep me enthralled, that I keep, thinking, pondering, and having some sort of moves to know if space travel is ever going to be possible, to know if someone in the future can ever visit someone in the past, and to know if we can really or a chronicle really exists. And I find it quite absorbing when I read through it. This seems to be a sort of an impressive science fiction novel to me. I was really captivated with it, giving me a sort of another likeness for science fiction. Before I talk about the book, I'd love to read to you the synopsis. Imagine being born the son of a slave with the mind of a genius. That was Simi Johnson in the years following the Civil War. After a perilous escape from lynch mobs in Mississippi, he managed to earn a PhD in physics at Tuskegee, and his research discovered the secret of time travel. He developed a design for a time machine called a chronicle, but the technology required to make it works does not yet exist. Fast forward 125 years, a young African American Illinois Tech student in Chicago finds Dr. Johnson's plan and builds a chronicle. He goes back to the year 1919 to meet the doctor and his beautiful daughter, Ollie, who live in Chicago's Black Belt, now known as Bronxville. But he has chosen an unfortunate time in the past and becomes involved in the bloodiest race riot in Chicago's history. And that sounds very fascinating. And another intriguing thing about this book is the fact that it has won some award. It won the 2015 Black Science Fiction Society Book of the Month, and that's fascinating. It also won the 2018 Best Indie Book Literary Award, Science Fiction category. That's very amazing. Then it also won the 2019 Reader's Favorite Gold Medal winner. And that's a proof that the book is absolutely intriguing. When I read through it, I was a bit confused. I was pushed up and I was like, oh my goodness, could this be true? Is it ever going to be possible? And I found it very, very enthralling. Like I said in my Amazon review, I said it's a sort of book that is absorbingly captivating, and only if a chronicle could ever exist. This book is a sort of book that kept me wondering about science. It's a kind of book that, keep me, making some sort of research about time travels and the discovery of time itself, the fiction and science, and it is very, very wholesome. But before I talk about the review, my review of this book is actually going to be a spoiler-free review. I won't be talking too much about it. I just want to give you a short video book recommendation so you can have a glimpse of what the book is all about. I left a link in the description part of this video if you would like to get a copy of the book after watching my review. Be sure to do that. So I'll be reading to you about the author, that's Steve Bellinger. Steve Bellinger fell in love with science fiction with a Fox Tom Swift book that he read as a child. When his mom, who worked for a printing company, brought home an Isaac Asimov novel, he was blown away by it and at the tender age of 13 decided to write, creating homemade comic books and had written manuscript and wire-bound notebooks. As a young adult, he found he just couldn't get a story published anywhere, so he combined two of his passion, writing and radio, and created several original radio dramas, producing them in his own made recording studio. Through the years, he's written content for websites, articles for local newspapers, and even the junior high school's booklet for the AMA Church. But it wasn't until he turned 65 that he realized his dream of having a science fiction novel published, that's the Chronicle. So remember, it is never too late. Steve's affection for science fiction continued. He is a lifelong fan of Star Trek. He owns two uniforms and Doctor Who. Yes, he has his own 12-foot long sword. He has met many of the stars of his favorite program and at conventions, including Nichelle Nichols, James Doohan from the original Star Trek series, and even Tom Baker, the most famous Doctor Who of them all. But the list of celebrities Steve has shaken hands with also include real-life heroes like NASA Space Shuttle astronaut Joan Botan, I hope I'm pronouncing that well, and Buzz Aldrin, the second man to walk on the moon. That sounds fascinating. Steve lives in the Lincoln Park community in Chicago, Illinois, with his wife, Donna. Find out more about Steve at his website www.stevebellinger.com on Facebook, and I left a link to his website in the description part of this video book review, should in case you would love to reach out to him. So this book actually details the impressive story of Seymour Johnson. To start from the beginning section of the book, whereby Simi and Willie and his other friend Black Pete was coming from their day job. So after the whole scenario, after they've worked, the payer invite them and give everyone his wages according to what or how they've worked. So on their way coming back, so one of them suggested that they should have a drink in a particular place. But Simi at first instance seems to reject this, but his friends urged him to do so. And when the whole act was going on, Jimmy told Simi about his book that Big Mama destroyed. And that's his book he valued so much, that's Principal. So when the whole scenario goes through, they got to the particular kiosk or shop, I'll call it. After they've had a little bit of drink, Willie and Black Pete left, remaining Simi in the place. So something happened, something transpired between the man and his friend who came visiting. They actually have a sort of a misunderstanding, and the man insisted that he's gonna beat Simi. So Simi refused and fixed the man. He fell down flat, and Mr. Ben started screaming, "Oh, catch him! He has killed my friend." So on this, Simi ran away. He ran away into the bush seeking refuge because the community he grew up from is a sort of community that hates black people. And on this basis, the people, all the white people, traced him back to his home and killed Black Pete. Before he got home, he heard from Willie that, "Oh, Black Pete has been killed because of you." And the Big Mama told him that, "Oh, please, you have to pack a load and leave because we don't want to be killed all. Because the white people came here searching for you after they realized that you picked Mr. Jeff," and he fell flat to the floor. So, on this basis, Simi had the option that to leave. He quickly ran into a particular place whereby he kept his money so far and picked it. I think he realized $65 thereabout and set on its way. on his journey, I don't want to talk too much about this particular part, but on his journey, he met certain people, met Jefferson and Johnny Wells. These people seems to be on the same journey like himself. They are escaping some sort of probably riot or a sort of a bad treatment in a particular community. But one of them, that's Mr. Johnson Weeks, ultimately turned out to be a thief because he stole from Jefferson in the train they were probably having to take into a particular town. So from here, there's a kind of a swift from the description of Simi and Willie and Black Pete and Big Mama here to another section detailing the story and adventure of Tony, who is a college student who built a chronicle and he invited his friend to come and see and probably take a look of it. Now, Tony had been building this chronicle for a very long time, and the money he had to use for his scholarship money, he spent everything building a chronicle. So, this day, when he invited his particular friend named Jimmy to come and probably take a look on the chronicle, he showed him how he got the idea to build this chronicle, how he read a particular article by Dr. Johnson, and how he read some other books to come up building this chronicle. He explained and illustrated to his very best to his friend Jimmy, but Jimmy found it very hard to believe. He took it as if, it's a child's play. He doesn't know what he's doing. And he even rebuked him, asking him that, how would you spend the scholarship money building this thing you called machine? How do you even think it's possible to ever travel to the past? Yet, Tony tried to explain to him so that he could understand very well that it is possible to travel to the past. He even told him that, okay, just give me some time. I'm gonna go to 1919, and when I come back, I'm gonna show you pictures that I snapped in 1919. So Jimmy thought of him as a fool. He thought of him as someone who doesn't know what he's doing. But ultimately, he seems to start developing likeness and attraction to his friend's chronicle. So, Tony told him that, okay, I'm going to enter the chronicle now, and I want to travel back to the past. And when I come back, I will show you and narrate my experience. So Jimmy ran outside. I said, okay, you're going to start now. You can start and I would see if it's going to work. So after the machine has been kicked, before then, he explained to him certain features, scientific feature, and I love this particular aspect. It reads like a fantastic science fiction novel. So when Jimmy went outside, Tony started the chronicle, and the whole building became demolished, and people were like, what happened? What happened? What happened? So it was at this instant that Jimmy was proud enough to tell people that, oh yeah, it's my friend. He built a chronicle. He just traveled to the past. People found him as a fool. They're like, what's he saying? That's not possible. So, but nobody ever believed him. So now another transition left from Jimmy's, conversion of his friend's chronicle to Tony's experience in the space. So Tony began to move from one planet to the other. He began to travel in space, and this scenario, the author description of this particular scenario is very fascinating to me. It's full of some intriguing scientific research and theories, and I love the fact that at this point the novel kept unfolding in a dynamic manner. So to cut the long story short, Tony arrived 1919 and he found himself landing in front of Dr. Johnson's house, whom he had once read of. He had read his book, he had read his theory about space travel, and it was even part of his own theories and objective and probably research or article that he was able to build chronicle. At first instant, Wally, who is actually the daughter of Dr. Johnson, take him as a stranger from somewhere, and they first have a sort of a bad notion towards him, but eventually when he explained his aim, where he had just gotten to, they seem to believe him. So now, Tony had flee from 2015 to 1919, and I love the description of this aspect. I love the fact that this aspect seek to expound on diverse issues and diverse cases. I love the fact that this part expound on the racism in America as far back as 1919. Because when Tony arrived in 1919, his look is different from the people there. People often imagine, I said, where did he come from? Even Oli Doctor, when he went outside for some shopping, people would spy at him and say, who is this? Where did he come from? And Oli would say, oh, he's my cousin from Africa. He just come visiting us. And Tony would seem to form some sort of African accent, which I find difficult to do. But one thing I love about this part, and one thing I so much admire about the author writing style in this category, is that the book made me remember or recall, take us back to the adventure of time whereby things are absolutely difficult for the black people in America as far back as 1990 to 1939, which is often referred to as the segregation era. This part reminded me of the Nigeria movement in 1905, and it reminded me of some sort of books that I've read under African racism in the past. And one of those books I would love to make reference to is the autobiography of Ida B. Wells, which is titled Crusade for Justice. When I read this part, I find it absolutely fascinating. I love the part that the author was able to transmit between the reality of 2015, the development and the civilization in 2015, back to the issues in 1919, the issue with racism, mode of dressing, photography, what is being called civilization as at that time, and the sort of house people live, the sort of car people rode with, and all this section made the book very fascinating. I was like, wow, this is sort of an impressive novel. So here, Tony's experience in 1919 isn't a child's play. It's not funny because at most instances some people hated him. At most instances, he fell into the hands of some white people who demand for his life. And because of that, Oli was mistakenly killed because some white people were actually pursuing Tony. They wanted to kill him, but the shot they made mistakenly killed Oli. From here, there's a sort of transition I found very intriguing, and that's the fact that at every instance of any negative occurrence, one of them would suggest that, okay, let's go back to the past and see if we can correct it. And that seems to be a good phenomenon that I mused over while I read through this book. I was like, is it ever possible to visit the past from the future? And towards the ending part of the book, that's the epilogue section, I read a part whereby under warning, I think this Dr. Simon L. Johnson, September 9, 1999, he said, I know this for a fact because I have been visited by a traveler from the future. And I find this statement very, very contemplative. It's very introspective. And sometime while I was into the book, I paused and made some research about space travel. And I was like, is it ever possible for someone in the future to visit the past? And here, I seem to have a sort of a move towards the time difference that some countries have. Why is it that it would be morning in some part of the world and it's midnight in another part of the world? Why is it that? And I don't really know if there are any country that is different, that their difference in time could be like 24 hours. I think I read about a particular one whose time difference is up to 26 hours. Well, I contemplated. I don't think it's ever possible for someone in the future to visit someone in the past, except if you want to go back to memory, because the future has not yet exist. So it would be an hyperbole for someone in the future to come visiting someone in the past. And that's something I find very exceptional in the middle section of this book, The Chronicle, an Urban Adventure in Time by Steve Bellinger. I love the transition of this particular area, and I love the fact that the book kept me, thinking over and over again. I love the fact that the book kept me having some sort of mood that I had to pause in my contemplation. I said, oh, could it ever be possible? And this sounds like a very sort of an impressive science fiction novel. The author's writing style is amazingly intriguing. It is very fascinating. It is very awesome. And little do I wonder that it's because of this fact that it won all this award. I'm very happy for the author for winning the 2015 Black Science Fiction Society Book of the Month and also the 2018 Best in the Book. That sounds very intriguing to me, particularly the 2018 Best in the Book Literary Award, Science Fiction category, and the 2019 Reader's Favorite Gold Medal winner. So, Tony's experience in 1919 is very, very intriguing. I don't want to spoil this book. I don't want to talk about everything in entirety. But I want to live in the mood to know if Tony would return back to 2015. If he would be able to prove to people and change history by building Chronicle. And if the people would believe him, even having arrived from 1919 to 2015 to showcase his Chronicle, a machine that help him to travel to the past. And if he would be able to survive the black racism in 1919 to 2015. I want to leave in the mood because there are a lot of questions that I can actually propose from this book that would captivate you to want you to say, oh yeah, I need to get this book right away. Because it's a sort of an amazing science fiction novel, one of the best I've ever read, and it's very, very intriguing. And I actually have other books by this author, and I look forward to reading them. I look forward because this particular book intrigues me, and I was like, oh, I think I would have to keep expounding more on Steve Bellinger's book. It's very fascinating, and I don't want to spoil it. I don't want to talk about everything in entirety. I just want to leave you in the verge of wanting to know if you would love to get this book on Amazon. I want to leave you in the verge to check out if Tony survived it, and if only, yeah, that reminds me, there's a sort of an amazing trait that exists between Oli and Tony, and it's as if they want to fall in love. I don't know, but to my own perception, I presume that they seems to have sort of an attraction towards one another. Tony's event in 1919 is full of, hatred, it's full of some sort of sorrows, even though he was able to meet Dr. Johnson and he had someone who would help him develop the Chronicle better. So, I don't want to spoil the book. I just want to give you a glimpse of what this book is really all about because it would be very bad for me to talk about everything in entirety. I don't think that's a good idea. So, this way I'm going to be stopping my review of The Chronicle and Urban Adventure in Time by Steve Bellinger. I left a link in the description part of this video book review if you would like to get a copy directly on Amazon. And if you watch this video to this point and you're yet to click on the subscribe button, I want to urge you to please click on the subscribe button over there. Also consider liking this video and sharing with your friend. This is truly an amazing science fiction novel and it captivated me. Like I said in my review, it is absorbingly intriguing. Only if a chronicle could ever exist. I recommend this to lovers of science fiction and lovers of literature on itself. But while I finished reading this book, I mused, only if a chronicle could ever exist. Only if man has the power to travel back to the past. Only if we can draw back the ends of time. It would be an amazing thing. It would be an amazing opportunity. And let me know your thoughts about that in the comment section. If you could ever go back to your past, there will be some correction to make. There will be some things to correct. There will be some plans to make. And there will be some decisions that you would never have made. This book is an amazing science fiction novel, which in my perception, I found it relating, stylishly coming into philosophy, stylishly coming into contemplation towards space travel, towards the theory of time itself, and the reality of this world itself. It is very contemplative, it is very introspective, it is arousing, thought, and it will leave you thinking and thinking long after you've read it. It's an amazing book and I solely recommend it. Thank you very much for watching my video book review of The Chronicle and Urban Adventure in Time by Steve Bellinger. See you in my next video. Goodbye.